Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. This has been another episode of 65 Mustang. So follow me on through the intro, and I'll be back. So guys, another week, another pile of parts from Kentucky Mustang. So in this video, when you get the taillights in the car, when you get the sun visors, rear view mirror, and stuff like that in the car, so we got a bunch of work to do, and a little time to do it, I guess. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out Kentucky Mustang. I'll drop a link down here below. And they were nice enough to give us a discount code. So I will drop it right here. So let's get busy. So I think the first thing we're going to tackle, let's get some taillights in this car. Let's start making it look a little better on the outside. So I ordered some new taillight housings. His lenses and bezels were in okay shape that were in this car, even though they had red overspray all over them. I've got all that off. I've got them cleaned up pretty good. But the taillight housings that were in the car were in pretty poor shape. So I'll flip it around and I'll show them to you. As you can see, the sockets weren't attached. They're bent. They got red overspray all over them. They got household screws shoved in them for studs. You know, they're just in pretty poor condition overall. They could be made to be used, but, you know, these things are cheap, guys, and those are junk. So what I ordered were these from Kentucky Mustang. These are the socket style taillight housings. So let me get that opened up and I'll show you them. These are the replacement taillight housings. These are properly stamped, just like they would be OEM. They also have a brass contact in here. They also have the appropriate studs and are made correctly. Unfortunately, they do not have the correct bulbs in them. So these will have to be changed to clear, which you could leave the amber ones in it, but the bulbs aren't correct, but the housing is just as OEM. And if your bezels and lenses are in good shape, you're going to need the body seals. These go behind these housings to the body. You're going to need the gaskets for the lenses. And I got a new mounting screw kit and the mounting hardware for these housings. And if you don't put the correct hardware on it, guys, it will not fit right. You do not put the gaskets on them, they will leak. They will leak water into the housing, it'll rust inside the housings. You don't put them on the body side, it'll leak water in the trunk. So let me flip it around and show you his old stuff that I cleaned up. And we can get to assembling this stuff. I got his old lenses and stuff cleaned up. They're not perfect, but they're okay. They're good enough to use. Now, Kentucky Mustang does sell a whole kit that comes with everything, but the only real major defects I've seen on these guys were they didn't have all the rear sheet metal attached appropriately. You see right there that the trunk lid edge actually beat the chrome pretty good. So I got most of the overspray off of it. There's still a little dot right there. I'll get that off real quick. And then we can move to assembling these things. So the first thing you want to do, let's get these incorrect bulbs out of here. And these just push and twist. And I got some replacements right here that are the correct bulb, which is an 1157. Get them put in there, and then you have the correct bulb in your housing. So your next step, you're going to take your replacement body to housing gaskets. And that right there is the part number and the SKU. And these simply just go over the back of your studs right here. And it's just a piece of foam. It's absolutely really nothing special. But if you leave it off, you'll have a water leak. So got that on there. Let's get that on the car. And guys, you can put these in upside down. You can totally put them in wrong and they will look wrong. But if you can see right there, your plug should be level once it's in the car. That will just bolt in right there. From the factory, these have some little wedges that go around the studs, and as far as I can tell, nobody repops them. But they do repop the correct nuts. And that right there is SKU number. Very nice stuff. And these will screw directly on these studs. So. You'll just start them 4 nuts, get them screwed in. Let me get those put on. And once your housing's installed, you're ready for your gasket. And this gasket can be hard to put in there, guys. A lot of people just shove it inside the housing. But what I'll do, I'll take a little light glue here and just put just a dot in some of these high contact areas. And what that will do is allow that gasket to just kind of stick. That way you don't have to worry about it kind of falling around. That will hold the gasket in place till you get your lens attached. So, also got some new lens mounting screws and bezel mounting screws. I don't know why that's not focusing. That's part number there. This thing literally had whatever they could stick in it, stuck in it before for all the mounting hardware. So, when in doubt, replace it. I'm going to take 2 screws, 1 for each corner. We'll put our part number on our lens towards the top. Then our new screws will go into our new bezel, like so. Sometimes your new screws are a little fiddly to get in there. You just have to make sure that everything's turned right orientation. And if you don't want to put them together in the car, you can also put them together on the bench. So this housing, your part number will be technically upside down on the inside. It'll be right side up on the outside. But same thing as the other side. When it's installed in the car, it ought to be level with your part number on your lens facing upward. Then you got your 4 screws. And if your screw holes don't line up, guys, you either got a bent housing or a bad repop bezel, or a combination of both. Sometimes they're easier just to line this stuff up out of the car. Because these screws don't have much contact area at all. made not to poke through the backside so you don't damage your paint in the car. And it's also worth noting, guys, your bezels. I don't know if you can see the difference in the profile here. The tall lip goes towards the bottom. So it's going to sit in your car like that. And yes, I know these things aren't perfect, but sometimes when you don't want to spend the money, that's what you get. So from this point, we do it that way. We can just put our gasket on out here. Once again, the gasket don't matter which direction it goes. It just goes on your lens like that. Then your assembly's ready to go into the car. And after you tighten up your bolts that mount it to the taillight panel, your taillights are installed. The inside is just easy, guys. You just plug it in. So our next thing, a lot of people don't know this, but these things have trunk bumpers that go right here on the side trunk lid. As you can see, I've already installed one. These things are super easy to put on, guys. Got an old broke off pick right here. Super dull on the end. These rubbers have a hole in the center. Just stick it up in there like that. Stick it up in your hole. And it's installed. Super, super, super easy. And what those do is when you slam your trunk lid, it keeps your trunk lid from going down too far. Super important little piece to have. And I'll get you a part number on those. They're right there. It's those little things, guys, that make a world of difference. And a lot of people won't notice they're gone. But a lot of that stuff's supposed to be there. Kind of like those little wedges that go under taillight bolts. You can bolt them up without them, just like I did on this car. But if you have them, use them. Clean them up, paint them, reuse them. I've not seen them repopped yet, and a lot of cars are already missing them, but they're nice to have. And the next thing I got was some hood bumpers, because it didn't have them either. So, when you get those on there. And the trick that's going to help you here, guys, on your hood bumpers and your door bumpers. Right here. Now, not all cars had all of these. Some only had 2, some had 4. To look right, you need to put all 4 in, but you can take a little dish soap, like this right here, that I put in this little container, and just put a little bit on the bottom of your bumper where it slides in. And what that'll do, that will help that slip down in the groove. Because these things be quite the bear to get in. Ideally, you can take and just slide them in, they'll go right in, but that isn't always the case. So you just want to keep a finger on it and take something like this dull pick that I used to install the front bumpers. And you're just going to take and tuck these inner lips down in there. It would be nice that if you could just stick something in the middle and push them down, but there's not always that luxury. But once you get it in there, that little bit of lube goes a long ways. I wiggle it back and forth just to make sure it's seated. So you got one there, you got a hole up there. Like I said, not all cars had all 4 of these. So if your hood don't shut, or you get a big old giant gap here, you may have to do some modifications, so to say. So just keep that in mind. But ideally, you get all four of them in, you shut your hood, and everything is happy as can be. I've still not lubed these hinges, so the rear don't quite sit down like it's supposed to. But as you can see, our hood will push down level. If it had a latch on it, it would be just fine. That's just something you want to check. Is that your hood will sit down where it's supposed to with all four installed. I don't know if I can show you an internal view, but sometimes you see it contacted up there. So once you get some hood pins in it, it'll be just fine. You guys can go through that same process. Just a little dish soap. You just want to lube the bottom of that rubber peg up. Now, these are quite fun to get in there. They're even more fun than hood bumpers. But a little bit of lube, like that dish soap, that'll not hurt anything, goes a long ways. But if you'll notice, these things have a profile, and that profile sits around that door edge. So, like I said, same process as your hood bumpers. You just want to get one side started. And on these, it's usually the rear or the outside that's the hardest one to get to, so you kind of want to get it in first. And these aftermarket retops are a little thick. But once you get them in there, they're in there. And their purpose. If you slam this door, it keeps you from overrunning the hinge or overrunning the latch. And it also keeps this door from rattling. As you can see, that door has no give in it since the bumpers are installed. It did not change our gaps whatsoever. So they're just a good thing to have, and this car didn't have any before, along with any door rubbers. And yet, another bumper that we need to install is the ones for the glove box door. They're going to look like this. They got a little T on the back of them, or a little rectangle type shape, and they're pointy on the top side. Part number for them. These right here. These are also the same ones that go on your rear tag places on your rear valance. So, to install these guys, we're going to do the same thing we did a while ago. I'll take just a little bit of dish soap. And I'm just going to put a little bit around the edges, just like that. And this is probably going to be the hardest one I'm going to show you. There's little holes right here. You're going to start one side of that little tab in and use a little pick, push in the other side. You should be able to twist it. And I got the other side in over there, as you can see. Use the same method. These aren't here, your glove box door will rattle when you go down the road. And for our next trick, we got a set of TMI visors that match our headliner perfectly, and they're not damaged or torn up. That is the SKU for the white ones. These are available in all colors. Real nice pieces, because they're made by TMI, not the other company that I'm not going to name. I've had bad experiences with, but these things are just like they're supposed to be. And to complement them, I got these, which is the brackets and our pegs on the inside. Right there. I, for one, hate when people shrink wrap this stuff like this, because especially on like these stems, the shrink wrap gets on there and it's hard to get off. You don't ever want to have to take a razor blade to a brand new chrome piece to get it off. But you can, you just gotta use real light pressure so you don't scratch the chrome or otherwise damage it. So great for presentation if you were gonna have them stuck, you know, on a shelf where people could look at them. But these are in a lot better condition than the original ones that were in the car, which are these right here. This is after an hour's worth of cleaning on them. Even our, you see the quality of that stuff. This stuff wasn't even clean when they put it in there the first time, and then they were stuck in there. But quite the change. So your stem, it's going to go in here, and on the inside you have a metal piece down in here, and your stem goes on there, and it should just push in. But we all know how sometimes that stuff goes. And they're made to fit tight. And then your peg's gonna go in the other side over here. The same way. And if you have your old sun visors to compare, you just want to make sure that you stop about the same depth as the originals. And once you get them in, guys, you're going to need a set of sun visor bumpers like these. Every single one of these is supposed to be this grayish color. They're not color coordinated to your interior. They're not black. And those things are just like a pencil eraser. They just go over that little peg right there. And that's what'll sit in your little next to your sun visor. So sometimes you get a little wrinkle or something in them. Putting that stuff in, you just pull and stretch it back. And you have everything installed. Most helpful tricks I want to show you for installing sun visors. Say you didn't put no screws in here and you didn't mark no holes. You can feel, on an early Mustang, you can feel where the sun visor hole bracket is. And right there is the center hole. When you find your center hole, I took and made a little X. I know the camera's having a hard time focusing. It's doing something funny with the reflection off the windshield. Take your finger, feel around for that hole. Cut your little X. Right there, that's what your sun visor will go up in. Ideally, you would want to do this and get your sun visors ready before you put your headliner around. Then you can turn the brackets so they're positioned correctly. Or if you have another car like my 66, I turn the brackets so they match the holes. So once I get the sun visor up there in that hole, I'll take a sharp pick this time and I'll feel around for screw holes and I'll put them screws in one at a time. But once you get you get that up in there, you get your first hole, guys. Your second hole, your third hole guaranteed to line up. But that is the sun visor installed. Just the easiest way I found to do it, guys. Once you know where center hole's at, there's only a certain amount of positions them 3 screws can be in. And on these cars, I'll flip around and show you, but the bolt pattern is not symmetrical. And that's very important too when it comes to doing this. As you can see, your 2 short ones go towards the corner. Your longer one goes pointing towards the center of the roof. I guess that's some dirt. But it's really that easy. And don't expect any of this reproduction stuff to fit perfectly or bolt right up. Close counts, guys, when it comes to repop stuff. A lot of them just don't care, or the quality is so poor that the stuff don't fit in the first place. But I try to hand pick stuff that I know will fit, or companies that I know will fit. Sometimes you don't have no choice and you're just kind of stuck with whatever. Scott Drake stuff, that used to be real great stuff. Same with Daniel Carpenter / Dennis Carpenter stuff. It used to be great stuff, but you still get some stuff that might be a little, might be a little fiddly, like taillight housings. The taillight bezels and the taillights herself. Usually, if you need taillight housings, guys, you're probably better off just buy the whole kit. They come already assembled and you just stick them in the car. In this case, I was trying to make a housing from a different manufacturer and a lens from a different manufacturer fit on somebody else's, base housing. So let me get this other sun visor in here and I'll go ahead and dig the rear view mirror out and get it cleaned up. And hopefully it's in good shape and we can just put it right in. But I want to show you the sun visor screw part number before I forget. And the sun visor bracket screws. There, right there's the part number. Next thing, which is our coat hooks. I'm going to save you guys a bunch of trouble here. When you get these repop coat hooks, take you a normal size like Phillips head screwdriver. Take your rubber hammer and tap that thing down in there and swell these coat hooks out. Because if that coat hook gets up here on this area where there's no threads on the screw, it'll be loose and floppy around. Ideally, you want that coat hook to get in there and stop before it gets to that portion. And by swelling it out, that's what you do. This is a repop set. Chrome on them isn't all that great, but they look fine up in the car. And they definitely look better than the rusty spray painted ones that were in it. These things are very inexpensive. Right there is the number. And right there is the reason why the finish ain't all that great. But guys, they work. They look fine in the car. Can't really complain. So you didn't mark the location of your coat hooks. Well, where is it? Oh, that's a good thing about having a 66 here. If you run your finger, guys, there's a bend right here in the curve of the roof. You can feel this. This isn't a square indentation. It's raised and dips in the center and is raised. You can run your finger along that headliner and you can feel. You take a sharp pick and poke it through a screw hole. So it's not hard to find where this stuff goes, guys. Like I said, I showed you in there. There's a bump, a dip, and a bump right there at the bend in the roof. You can feel right there, and if you push hard enough and feel, you can feel where the screw hole's at. That's where you're going to poke your pick through. You'll just poke pick through, there'll be a hole in the headliner, and you run your screw straight in that hole. That's what I've done for the mirror too. A lot of people run the screws in beforehand and stretch your headliner. And what usually happens, guys, where them screws are poked out, they'll stretch your headliner around it, and you know, you'll have kind of a funny spot around it. One more piece, which was a package tray with speaker hole cutouts. This is a very nice piece, guys. I cannot install it currently at the moment because I've got to get the rear speakers mounted in the deck back there. But if anybody's curious, this is going to be your part number and SKU right there. These things are pretty inexpensive. They sell just the board itself, and you can cover it if you need to without any kind of cutouts in it. Since it already had speakers mounted in the rear deck, even though they were in the wrong spot, I went ahead and get the one with speaker cutouts, and we'll move the speakers to the correct position. Install it, but it will make a pretty decent looking car, I think. It's a little darker than the red of our interior, but I don't think it'll really be all that noticeable. But I didn't want to put a white one in it, and I didn't want to put a black one in it. And if I decide I don't like the color, we can always dye it. But it does look better and breaks up some of the white. And like I said, I've still got to put some insulation on the package tray. I still got to get some speakers mounted back there. And that'll be in a later video. I just wanted to get it out of the box. That way I can get rid of this big old box that's in the shop. And it can sit there in the car and not cause no problems. And I know this video may be starting to seem a little random, guys, but I'm literally putting things on as I get them in. There is a method to the madness of the way I'm putting this stuff on. I'm putting it on in a way that makes it easier for me in the end, not to have to go back in there and add some of these little things like door bumpers and the dash bumpers and, you know, the coat hooks and the sun visors and the rear mirror and the hood bumpers and stuff like that. Just go ahead and do them. They're not going to be in the way for anything else. Gets them out of the way. And I guess our next thing we need to put on, I got the rear window trim. I'm still waiting on one single piece for the front window trim. So let's see if we can get the rear window trim on the car. Our rear window moldings, I ordered a Dynacorn set, which you would think would be something other than made in Taiwan, but this is a SKU number. This is the Corvex number. So let's get these things unbagged and see if we can't get them on the car. And like most things I film, guys, this is going to be hard for me to kind of show you. But what I'll do, I'll clip in one side. I'll put one clip in. And on the rear window, you want to start with the lower molding. And then I'll come over to the other side. And I'll try to even up the gap, so to say. Because I want this gap over here in the corner to be even on both sides. So by just clipping the one end, I can slide this molding a little bit back and forth until I get a uniform gap down here. So when you install rear window molding or any kind of window molding, this molding should pop in with the lightest amount of pressure. And if it doesn't, you have a problem. If you beat on this molding with your hand or your palm, you will bend it. What I like to do, I'll get it under the edge of the clip and I'll push it upward, pushing the clip towards the glass. And what that does, it lets that slip down in there. What we're trying to do, guys, I don't know if you can see that profile. It'll zoom in. But there's a little V on the outside edge of this trim where it meets up to the body. And that little V is what locks it in those clips. And the reason why you put the bottom molding on before, I don't know if you can see, The side moldings sit over the top of the bottom. The upper molding is a little more tricky because you have corners that go up here at the top to connect to the center. So, just a helpful tip. So, like I said, guys, that's the reason why you leave this gap, because this molding will go in here and it'll just sit over the other molding. So, on the side moldings, what I do, I'll go in here and make sure none of my, where I done that trim, and when I put these in, I'll push inward. I'm pushing this way on them at the clip locations. And on these sides, I'm going to leave the top clip undone. So I got the two, the middle and the bottom one in. Let me get the other side and get those on there. These clips may be stiff, and you may have to help them along a little bit. And by help them along a little bit, I mean use something like this nylon tool right here. And go in here and stretch that clip a little bit. See if that don't help. Just like that. And on your upper corners, you're going to have these little 90s. What I'll do, I'll just kind of test fit them. You can kind of see if they follow the curve the way they're supposed to. And I'll just set them on there for now. And you get your upper molding ready. This molding slides into these corners. And this gets to be where the tricky kind of part is. Because once again, you want to kind of center your stuff. You want to center your upper molding in those clips. Best you can. And these are going to go on just like the lowers and the sides. You're going to push inward. When I say inward, guys, you're going to push down. Where on the side you're pushing in. Bottom you're pushing up. And yes, it really is that easy. These nylon pry tools, they're hard plastic. These that you see me use come from Harbor Freight, guys. You can buy these for like $6. Money well spent. If you break it, you throw them away and go get you another set. But it is helpful when doing stuff like that, especially this thin end right here. I know it really don't pick up on camera how thin that actually is, but it's thin, and like I said, it's plastic, but it's dense. And it works really well for sticking in between them window clips and be able to flex them a little bit and soften them up. Just where you can pop that window molding there just a touch easier. So I'll flip you all around. I'll show you the window molding installed. I'll show you some things I like and I don't like about it. But compared to the set that he had with the car, that I'm pretty sure were made out of aluminum and fit horribly, these are a pretty nice window molding, guys. You can't ask for much better of a fit, especially in a car. Like I said, it's been cut all to pieces like this one has. So let me flip it around. So our molding is on. It fits pretty decent, guys. It fits pretty good up around the edges. It's a little proud here in this corner. It's a little proud down here. But it fits good otherwise. And a lot of you probably think, well, you still got to wait something about the car while you're putting the trim on it, because I'll tape it up, guys. Same way over here. It's a little proud in this corner, but it fits good. So I could pull that back off and twist that a little bit and bend it, and, you know, get it better. But considering this car didn't have anything at all on it, just having one on it makes it look a ton better. And I decided to go ahead and put a couple of pieces of the front on. I can't put it all on because we don't have all the pieces, but we're going to start with the lower molding. The front molding does not come as a kit. So it'll focus there. That right there is the SKU number and part number. It's another piece of Corvex molding. So on your lower, guys, you want to line this edge up with the edge of the rubber. Lined it up on both sides. We're going to do it just like we done the rear. We'll take and we're going to push upward on the lower molding. We'll get that compared to our clips. Alright, guys, the list of things that I actually have here that's usable is getting pretty small at this point. This next day, let's get the headlights in it. I've already got driver passenger side in it. Got driver passenger side. Yeah, I've already got the passenger side in it. So I'll flip around, show it to you, and I'll show you some tricks on getting the headlight adjuster pieces and stuff inside these new repop buckets. The process is the same with the factory ones, but let me flip it around. So we got the driver's side in. And on the passenger side over here, as you can see, we have no adjusters. No place to put adjusters. And then we got this stuff that goes down to our parking lights. We can't hook that stuff up until we get parking lights to put in it. So let's get the headlight stuff in it. And then later I'll pull the bulbs back out of it so I can get those harnesses plugged in down where to go. But for this video, let's get this stuff installed. Well, we're going to start by removing the headlight bucket, the original one from this old horrible looking headlight mount. That's pretty easy to do. You're just going to take out the two adjuster screws. We'll get that out. Then you get a spring in here, and the spring is the whole evil of all this. And it's only the evil because it's old and, you know, rusty and hard to get out. So while that's off drying, where I had to blast it and paint it, you're going to get a new set of adjusters. These come out of my body bolt kit because they're better quality stuff than the stuff that comes with the red repop headlight mounts. So these are from our set right there, our AMK set, And you're going to have the 2 adjuster screws, the 2 adjuster mounts, and the spring. And as you can see, this spring, which was kind of a pain to get out, is not the correct spring. The other side had a spring equivalent to this one. So in order to make this install easy, guys, what you need to do, you're going to take your pair of pliers and you're going to hold your adjuster like this. You're going to take your screw like this and start it. And I'm going to run that screw down until it sticks through the other side. And what that does, that helps support that plastic. I'm going to do that with both of the adjusters. And a lot of you probably think, well, you're crazy right now. Literally, guys, these things are a friction fit in there. So having a little arm works wonders. So got our 3 things here. Let's get them in the car. All right, guys, we are at the car. And a lot of you thinking, well, how does this go in here? You know, it's hard to get in. There's a long side right here and a short side. Long side, you're going to get it under and kick it as far under as you can without your plastic being under. Literally, guys, you can get it in there and you can get it under and it'll just pop into place. Same thing with your top one. You're just going to repeat that process. These don't have a very large friction fit, but they are. And generally, they'll snap in. I'm just going to tap that one with the screwdriver just to make sure. And once it's in there, they should wiggle a little bit around or even fall out. Because it don't matter how good of quality an aftermarket piece is, a lot of it is still straight up cheap. And you can always flip it around. Like that top one, it just fit a little looser than others. But ideally, guys, you should be able just to shift them things up and slide them in the holes. Kind of like that. Because once they're in there, you get outward tension on it from your spring. They shouldn't just fall out. And no matter how good of a part you buy or how good of a quality a part is, when it's reproduction stuff, guys, a lot of it is, let's just say, hot garbage. Some of it's good, some of it's not. You just have to take what you need and discard what you don't. You'll never get the factory ones out without damaging them. These do fit pretty well. But like you've seen, they can break very easily. Just like that one we just had break. But their function, you probably won't ever mess with them after the initial time. And as long as they don't pop out once you get them adjusted, you should be good to go. And obviously you deal with different clearances and aftermarket pieces too. But when restoring a car, this stuff's always a fight, guys. You just kind of got to figure out the easiest route to make it work. And I was trying to share a good tip with y'all because it works really well 99% of the time. But that other 1%, you get something like what happened on this side, where the adjuster breaks and I have to go back in there and fix it. So let me fix this one more time and I'll be back. All right, so I'm back. Got this fixed so it fits tight. Got the top one fixed so it fits tight. Put your parking lights in first, guys, because Here's your wires for your park and turn signal, and here's your ground. It goes down through the hole in the bottom of the fender down here. You cannot get to these once the headlight is in there. You can get to it with the plug, with this thing, with the headlight bucket in it. Your headlight bucket goes in there like this, and you have that spring down here on this bottom corner, which goes in a hole in your headlight bucket. Before we get ahead of ourselves, what we need to do, we need to take these adjuster screws out. Like that. We're going to set them to the side. They were just used for an install tool. So you get your spring in there. Your spring hooks around the back side in here. You're going to have to play that game getting it in there like that. It's like catching fish in a barrel. And then you can hold it up there with your finger like I'm doing up here. While holding a little outward tension on it to keep that spring from falling out, we can get our headlight adjuster screw into the slot. Just like that. So we got one in. We can let that balance. Got our second screw. We'll bring it in here. And if you hold your mouth right, guys, it all goes together. Sometimes the spring will fall off. Sometimes this stuff will fight you a little bit. You just got to fight through it. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this drill until we have good tension on that spring. If that spring comes loose, you will have a floppy headlight. We can adjust it from there. But what I'm saying, those screws have a slot in them. That slot sits in the groove. This headlight bucket is very, very pitted. But the stock ones are a lot thicker than your aftermarket, guys. So they're worth cleaning up and painting and treating the rust in or blasting as needed. Your spring clips over the top here, over the bottom back there. And you may be wondering about your headlight wires. Like I said, you can get to the headlight and parking lot wires through the headlight hole. So if you forget to plug them in, or you don't have your parking lights yet put down here, you can still plug them up. It's just going to be a little more fun. Can't depend on stuff to always be 100% quality or fit great. Modify as you need. Modify what I've done as you need. We're all shooting for the same goal, is to get this stuff installed. So let's get the headlight bulb and headlight ring in it. Those should go fairly easy, or at least I would hope. And we'll get the headlight bezel on the outside, and we'll flip it around, and we'll finally have a look at it with all its eyeballs in it. So this ought to go pretty quickly, guys. I'm sure most of you have put a headlight bulb in before. We got these old headlight bulbs because we're trying to save him money. The headlight bulb will line up just like that. And if you have the factory screws, you don't even have to take them out of the headlight ring. This thing will literally go in there and twist out and pull off. But we don't have the factory screws because this car had all kinds of mismatched hardware in it. So we're going to take these replacement screws, which will be just fine for this. and we'll tighten one down, and that will hold our headlight bulb in. You got 3 screws. Unfortunately for early Mustang guys, later cars had the spring for the headlight bucket on the little stainless bezel here. That makes it kind of fun sometimes. But these cars do not. So it makes it a lot easier to install that headlight, just like so. And if you've done your job right, you ought to be able to touch this thing and it not wiggle or move or, you know, any of that bad stuff that's not any fun. So your next piece is going to be your headlight bezel with an addition of a daisy. What I'll do, I'll lightly hold this up there. I will lightly just run these screws down. Just enough to hold it. This was a problem with these cars, was getting all this stuff where you didn't destroy it. And put it on. This stuff does have slight adjustments. And you know, make sure all your screws line up. Once you get all your screws lined up, you can just lightly snug this down. You don't want to super tighten it. Just enough to tighten it down. And just like that, the headlight's installed. So we got a Mustang that looks like a Mustang again. We just need to get some parking lights ordered and get those in there. And then we can finish hooking up the wires behind the headlights and all that good stuff. But it's actually starting to kind of look like a car again. Still got to get all the side glass in it, which I mean, I need to order some vent windows for it and some other little small things along that lines. So I think we made some pretty good progress in this video. We'd like to remind everybody, if you haven't checked out our shirts yet on our merchandise store, there's a bunch of shirts on there. And the Save the Classics t-shirts, 100% goes into my 66 project. Is that right? And your shirts go to get you cat treats and stuff like your cat castle, right? So guys, even though I don't feel like we've accomplished a lot in this video, we actually really have. I'm still waiting on that piece of window trim. I'm waiting on a couple of pieces for my 66 to come from Kentucky Mustang. So make sure you check them out, guys, at KentuckyMustang.com. And don't forget about that discount code that they gave us. It helps them keep track of who's actually using that and watching these videos. So if you haven't yet, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it does help the channel to grow. If you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys, and I look forward to everybody's comments down below. So until the next video, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.